This is Talking Heads on Manx Radio, and we're talking about the fact that it looks as though the hourly bus service to Jurby from Ramsey is going to be dropped from April the 6th, replaced with a Connect Village service, which requires 24 hours notice. Louise Whitelegg is a campaigner, and she's trying to get them to re-look at this, and we've asked for your comments, and we've got a good few as well. There seems to be confusion, says David H., between cost and value. It's a confusion that often happens with government, I think. Great idea, keep the Jurbyites and the Andreasites out where they belong in the sticks. Ooh. No, seriously, it's another stupid idea in government. That's from Gary in Ramsey. It's not just the Jurby bus that they're stopping, the Ormley Thornhill bus and the Clackbane bus. Both of these buses are my lifeline to the doctors and home. It's totally wrong, says Barbara. So, yeah, it seems that it is happening in lots of different places. Post office is a private business delivering a service they get paid for, aren't they? They're not a required social services. Well, that's an argument, certainly, but I think a lot of people would say that it is a bit of a social service. And it was originally not a private business, was it? It was there as a social service. Good on you, Louise. The London Underground has never made money. Should it be scrapped? Some people know the price of everything, the value of nothing. Will you please pass my phone number to Louise? I can't fit in the small buses.
There's another interesting point as well.
Right.
When we've got double buggies.
Yes.
Now, I'm not a qualified double buggy driver.
No.
But somebody has said to me that there's absolutely no chance you can get a double buggy on one of these smaller buses.
Oh, right.
So I'm just taking that on face value.
All right. I'll save that one for you so that you can
Thank
take the number of that. What else? The bus 5C goes from Ramsey to Peel up to 7:40pm. After that, the bus from Ramsey goes via Jurby and gets to Sulby Bridge at 9:10pm. Will that get affected? Says Mal. I mean, I don't know.
No, as far as I know, they're all off.
Right, okay.
All the Jurby buses are off, but that's the proposal that is at the moment, and then everything after that is bookable.
There used to be a bus service to Derby Haven, not anymore. Well, but there again, I wonder whether or not many people would use it. I think you should do away with Connect Village and dial a ride as... I have two sons who live in Bride, and they rely on the regular bus services. One of my sons is Austin, and I think that's the type, and doesn't like change, and I think it's pathetic. So they need to keep the regular bus service. Right. What's that? What's happening? That's a different thing altogether. That's something else altogether, and that's come in about 6 different parts as well. Guardhouse is shut, says somebody. Well, maybe it is at the moment, but I'm sure it's not shut full time. Let's go to the lines. We've got Stephen wants to have a word on this. Hi, Stephen.
Oh, good afternoon, good afternoon, listeners. I think, like everybody, there's a solution here, and that is a compromise. Like most people, I thought, what a good idea when I first heard the dial-a-ride was mentioned.
Yes.
But now, as it unfolds, it's not so good for all concerned, including the taxi trade and also the patrons of the bus service.
Well, it'd be all right maybe as an additional service, but as a replacement, that's a whole different thing, isn't it?
Absolutely. But the point I wanted to come and make, even more than that, was how pleased I was that Louise has come and got involved in an issue when she was a former candidate in that area, and she's still taking an interest. How often do we see around the island where people stand at election time and you neither hear from them from one election to another? Yeah. And it pleases me greatly that Louise has taken an interest in the constituency and the people she wanted to represent. So well done, I say.
Oh, thank you. That's kind.
Very nice.
Thank
and only
you.
2 years to wait until the next general election.
There we go. There we go.
Right. How do I get to the hospital on a bus from Port Erin, says G. The lady with you in the studio would make a fantastic MHK. If she lived in my constituency, I'd definitely vote for her. That's from Bert in Port St Mary.
Okay, thank you.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's great. That's
Yeah.
great, but being an MHK is more than just helping people with the shopping bags when it's raining, which is
Yeah, absolutely.
people sort of tend to get a bit parochial about.
Oh,
MHKs.
absolutely. And I think there's an interesting conversation to be had here as well, because we've got an occasion where we're looking at trying to save money through the SAVE programme, but then that runs in direct conflict with trying to look after the people
yes, of
in
course.
your area.
And especially the people who are maybe disadvantaged, people at the lower end of the income scale.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, it's always a thing that you can't please everybody all of the time, but you have an obligation to the people who are your constituents.
Yeah.
But you also have that bigger obligation as your political obligation as well, and it's getting the balance right.
Yes.
But that's, I think, a larger conversation for how we do politics on the Isle of Man. But I just implore people, you have to speak out when you see something that goes against the grain, when you see something that isn't correct. And again, back to what we're talking about with the buses, we need to, all of us, speak out, and I'll help where I can. This is how the conversation started in the first place.
Yeah.
With a friend of mine who I did meet through the door knocking in the elections in 2016.
Yeah.
And the friends I've made up in Jurby are actually one of the biggest bonuses to come out of the whole election thing for me. Which is why not everybody is as outspoken as other people, Stu. Which is why they came to me to say, this can't be right, can you do something about it? Yeah, sure.
Good. All right. We need to take another break because I've let them all sort of back up a wee bit, but we've got loads of texts which we'll have a look at and a final word after these.